Trapmore gang, we've heard a lot of theories over the last few days about Jeffrey Epstein, his death, okay, the idea that he deleted himself whilst in prison, and there's been a lot of people saying that maybe he's actually not dead. Maybe he's actually swanning off around the world. He's still engaging in his pattern of abuse. Maybe he jetted off to some remote island, not that island, but he managed to lay low and actually escaped justice. Now, interestingly enough, there is now a new theory going around that suggests that the alleged madam, okay, the female demon that was apparently running the strings and helping Epstein groom some of these girls and managing the whole portfolio of debauchery, Ghislaine Maxwell, they're saying that actually now she's apparently serving a 20-year sentence in prison for being part of this operation, apparently had no clients. Now people have actually begun to notice in her recent appearances there's some facial features that don't quite add up. They're saying that doesn't look like the same Ghislaine Maxwell that we saw in the media a few decades ago when she was part of this whole ring. And now they're saying maybe it's not even actually her in prison serving the sentence. Maybe they put in a stooge or a patsy and somebody else might actually be serving this sentence for her. Now, it sounds outrageous, sounds like cap, but the proof is actually quite compelling. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you some of the theories that Ghislaine Maxwell is actually not really the one serving this 20-year sentence in prison. And I'm also going to tell you the whole story of her this depraved and disgusting life, the origins of her father, and the rumors that he was a bit of a Jeffrey Epstein in his own sort of way. And I think it's going to blow your mind, honestly. Like I'm somewhat convinced, okay, that this situation is not quite as it seems. So to start off, right, I want to show you some of the theories that are going around that basically suggest, okay, that maybe it's not Ghislaine Maxwell who is actually serving that time in the pen. This is going around, all right? Anomalous evidence. Let's join. Why did Maxwell's hairstyle suddenly change in prison from the long hair she had 5 months ago, August 2025, to make her look more like she was before entering prison? We are being played. And this says, this is basically a video of people basically kind of breaking down how her appearance has suspiciously changed, all right, in the last few appearances of her that have been going around. So let's just take a little look at this. I want to just line this up perfectly and actually see everything, and I will read it to you. Right. I don't know if we need the music, but this basically says, can someone explain why Maxwell's hair suddenly changes from her photo below to the hairstyle she was publicly photographed having to have the time before she was in prison? So let's look at this. Let's look at the breakdown. So they're suggesting that the nose shape is off. She's had a nose job in prison. She's had a chin. She's had a clav job. Whatever that surgery clavicula's talking about, he's going to get done to his chin, right? She's had that done as well, apparently. And, you know, whole new chin, new me, new sentence, new cell, right? It's not really making too much sense. They're saying, how is she suddenly looking completely different? Kind of does look like a different person. I'm not going to lie to you. Does look very different. Okay. Now let's hear what people are saying in the comments. saying RFK. Look into Steve Blannon's flood the zone with shit concept. They're saying scapegoats, only the rich get them. Says she's 64. Odds are we should be able to see gray hairs. Why is her hair so dark? Is she dyeing her hair while imprisoned? And it says, well, she is at a minimum security luxury prison. There was a whistleblower who came forward who said Maxwell was getting preferential treatment, which included custom meals, staff catering to her, after-hours access to the gym, private comms, etc. The prison she's nicknamed in is Club Fed. She may be confined to the facility, but she's not really being punished in the same manner as your typical inmate. So more people are pointing out some of the lovely benefits that she gets as part of this prison stay at Club Fed, okay? They're basically saying, just to add, she gets a puppy to play with in there. When a fellow inmate openly complains about the perks she was getting, that inmate was moved to an even harsher prison, sending a warning to the rest of the inmates, and the warden also complained about her being a bitch. Not bad treatment for a PDF who helped our word about 1,200 underage women, girls, underage women. That's not really a thing. And the crimes that we know about. This is what Israel gets you. I don't know. I mean, listen, we're going to have to look into that a little bit more. Saying, did she join a Korean esports team recently? Saying, bro, this Japanese guy is not Maxwell. I will tell you this. If I were in her place and having all that shit come out about me, I would not want to keep my previous look because I do not want the public to associate me with my previous life. And you got to bring more awareness to it. People are saying, what? Different haircut. This says different chin. Her hair color doesn't match. Chin looks flat and not pointy. People saying it's the nose for me. Does not look the same at all. Now, it says noses can get bigger or more bulbous with age and weight gain, but they don't become shorter. You also don't go from having hooded eyes to not having hooded eyes. Usually, eyes become more hooded as you age. The opposite seems to have happened here. I remembered seeing this photo on the news and I immediately went, that is a totally different person, specifically because of her nose and eyes. But they fix the ears, so you have to cut the hair to show them to the conspiracy theorists. She is not in jail. Yeah, I think the real one, they might have got rid of her, right? She's in prison. She's not in jail. She's in prison, all right? So, saying apparently nobody also noticed the eyebrows. Women over 60s don't magically develop thick, dark eyebrows all of a sudden, especially when they've been plucked thin for decades. So she's at the Salon Spa Club Med Prison, switching up the look. Oh, that's a senorita from Texas, and Lady GM is with Jeffrey Epstein in Big I, Big L. I don't know. I don't know what that means. Big I. I think they mean Israel. All right, we're not doing all that, but yeah, I guess that's what they're referring to. Big eye, right? Okay, nice one. Says, bro, this Japanese dude is Maxwell. This is the same comment that's been pasted. Look closely at the glasses. I think the new one might be AI generated. It says she might have spent a week or two in jail when they got her away ready. She's with Jeffrey Epstein doing the same stuff they've always been doing. It's crazy. Right? It's crazy. Whether this is jizz stain or not, the person's hair is shorter. It's about a week. Whether or not this is jizz stain or not, hang on. This person's hair is shorter is about as weak an argument as possible. Point to delta that cannot be easily explained away. She went to the prison barber, which one would expect her to do, especially in Texas where it's hot. Overgrown eyebrows are not indicating anything. She can't just pluck them anymore. A puffy face is to be expected. Prison food is basically all salt-based slop, and the chin being slightly different is noteworthy, but can still be explained by angles and lighting. Nobody like Maxwell will look the same after months in prison, fresh haircut or not. This is worth talking about, but it's far from a smoking gun. So the ears on the two photos are different. One photo has low set ears that begin below her eye. The other photo has higher set ears. Just imagine drawing a straight line from earlobe to earlobe. These two pictures do not match up. It says a woman in the bottom photo has Botox within at least the last 90 days and fresh filler under her eyes. Filler swelling visible under her right eye. Either someone is bringing it in and doing it for her, or she's leaving and having it done. Could you imagine having your Botox guy visit you in the feds and that being run? So it's like the astronaut who dyed her hair upon returning to Earth. This is incredibly sus and unnatural. It's like they want to make all of us normies believe what she's saying because she looks like all the 90s pics that we've been bombarded with in the media. Spoon-fed BS. Not even her. It's the eye shape that would make me question whether this is Maxwell. Her eyes have a downward slant at the outside corners, whereas in the other picture, the eyes have a more of an upturned shape. Also, Maxwell's eyes have more hooded lids. People are saying, I think this is a PR stunt to make her look dowdy. Very unlike an sexual predator. Surprised they didn't tint her hair grey. Check the utilitarian style glasses. She looks like a hospital attendant. So different from the younger pictures we see. That is on purpose. Oh, the poor dear. See how she's suffering. This person said, I'll tell you this. If I were in her place having all of that stuff come out about me, I would not want to keep my previous look because I do not want the public to associate me with my previous life. They're saying I don't want to play with fire with the big man, okay? It says, who's coloring her hair in prison? Probably the same person who cuts hair and does braids. You can easily find this info online. Not every prison will let you dye your hair, but some will. Barbers and hairstylists in prison are a perfectly normal thing. What a trap to have in the prison. Women's prison also have inmates that offer manicures and pedicures. They can buy hair dye and makeup from the commissary. Edit, the commissary list for federal prison camp Bryan is publicly available and hair dye costs $12.70. Interesting, okay? It says, I'm willing to consider almost anything around this case at this point, but it could also be that jailhouse cameras have a weird aspect ratio or something. People saying it's not even a weird aspect ratio. It's literally just a different focal length. Google portrait focal length comparison, and you'll see how different a person can look depending on the focal length of the lens. If the cameras were swapped, we'd be calling the other one weird because that's not the one being presented as normal. It says, it's time for the mods to flag this as fake information. It's so effing obvious it is her. They're saying time for you to get a 9-month account to wait for your Israeli paycheck. Let's not be ridiculous here, right? Look, I want to have another look at the pic, and then I'm going to react to some comments in a different sub about this, okay? So I don't think it looks like her. The nose is completely different. I'm sorry, I would say nose is completely different, doesn't it? What are they saying in the original sub where this is posted? And I do want to see something about this from the Epstein sub, okay? So as you can see, all right, they're saying we are being played. Now, do people agree here? People seem to agree. It says, for me, the dead giveaway are the tip of the nose and upturned versus downturned corners of the mouth. I'm pretty sure that's how the muscle is when resting and it's not able to be changed. I believe I've tried with Botox and filler. The mouth is completely different. I mean, she's smiling here. Chin's different, mouth's different. It, looks like it does look like a different person to me. Because I was a bit surprised to see the pictures on the left recently came out. I understand age and stress, but some of these features seem so wrong. Not her. Not her. I'm scared. So I will tell you this: if I were in her place, having all of that shit come out about me, I wouldn't want to keep my previous look. I don't want the public to associate me with my previous stuff. Lot of comments being repeated here. I do think that's a bit suspect. Okay, a little bit sus. So there's a few more posts on r/Epstein that are regarding this alleged fake jizz stain Maxwell, okay? And again, people have been saying this for a minute, all right? Now the bigger, sort of more deep theories are coming out where they basically believe that, you know, this is a body double, this is a fake, this is a fraudulent jizz stain Maxwell. But people have been saying it for a while. This is her when she had her deposition. And I can't lie, just this on its own, it's like, it looks like a half decent casting, but it doesn't look like her. It says, is this really Ghislaine Maxwell? This is a screenshot during the deposition a few days ago. Is this body double serving as her sentence? Is this a body double serving her sentence? I know people age, but other than the short hair and glasses, this looks nothing like her. Okay, it's all kinds of off. Okay, the nose, the eyes, hooded versus not, the hair color and cut not matching her recent photos. Someone on YouTube did a breakdown. It says the nostril flare and nose shape are wholly different. I normally can't tell unless it's extremely obvious, and this was an immediate WTF. Because they're playing in our faces. Different eyes, different chin, changed her hair to her original haircut. I literally thought it was an AI. It's not her. The big dog has her hidden with Epstein. This is such a joke. Okay, says I've seen 2 video breakdowns on this now. Unless prison offers cosmetic surgery, there is no way this is Maxwell. I don't understand why they'd use a double just to plead the fifth on loop, but it's exactly what they did. Psyop slop. Right, another video breakdown on it. Now you got my video breakdown on it, okay? And I hope I've gone as deep as everyone else. It says this Ghislaine's left side of the mouth lifts when she speaks. The other videos, it does not. The nose is completely different and the accent is a little off. It says her thin, pinty nose has doubled in size and is flat. I would love to see her mugshots for each year she's been in prison. Don't they have to take those mugshots yearly? It says it's driving me mad that everyone can see that her nose and facial structure are entirely different. The only thing that matches is her haircut and glasses. I understand people age, but that person that appeared in the deposition has completely different facial structure and nose. That is not Ghislaine. Right? People can see it and people are posting, but posts are being suppressed by the higher ups, covering everything up. So I think everyone sees it, but the media isn't touching it because they're also controlled by the wealthy. Nobody can look at this image in any previous video of Ghislaine and think that it's the same person. It's a FU to the survivors and common folk. Okay. It's interesting. So there's another one. They're saying they gave us a fake Ghislaine Maxwell, all right? Completely different nose, completely different eyes. I'm sorry, but this is a different person. This is a different person. Eyebrows, completely off. Eyes, completely different shape. Nose, completely different shape and slant. Completely different. Mole under eye, missing. No, stop playing with me, man. Stop. Are you having a laugh? Bro. She's got a little mole under her eye. Couldn't even get the little hair and makeup department to put a little mole on. Am I being dumb? That's not the same mole. That's not a little blemish. Look at the eyes. Completely different eye shape. Completely different brow profile. This is a joke. Says, after seeing this and watching the video, I started asking questions on Gemini. That was your first mistake, but okay, let's rock with it. I first asked it to compare the 3 pictures, and it tells me they are not the same person. Then I asked it to identify the person on the left in the picture, see results below. They're not the same person at all. They gave us a fake Maxwell testifying in Congress, and the video is here. I'm not gonna... That is not the same person. Bro, that is a joke. That is a joke. This... It's saying the image you showed of the comparison commonly found in online discussions regarding Ghislaine Maxwell. While the 2 individuals in the photo share similar features such as hair color, style, and general eye shape, they're not the same person. The facts: the woman on the right this is a well-known photograph of Ghislaine Maxwell taken at a social event. The woman on the left, this is a mugshot of Maria Butina, a Russian national who was arrested in 2018 and pleaded guilty to conspiracy to act as an unregistered foreign agent in the United States. Well, that would be convenient timing to put him in as a patsy, as a stoogie, right? That's insane. This is insane. Without commenting on the accusation, please understand that generative AI is not good for anything other than kit bashing spreadsheets. Yeah, I agree with that. Right? If that's true, she would definitely be reading this such. She was apparently a Reddit demon. Saying it's been posted at least 5 times today. We need that. All right? I screen grabbed the pictures myself from the deposition and an older picture of her. The person from YouTube video has done more extensive analysis. The ears don't match the nose, the eyes, the shape of the face. You should also Google Maria Butina. They're not the same person as the photos you provided. She doesn't even have brown eyes. So Gemini's full of shit. Let's just keep it real. Another picture. This is the same one that we saw, but again, this is just showing you what people are saying about this, right? Ghislaine Maxwell photos. That's not her. Different nose, different eyes, body double in jail. That's a different person. That's a different person. This is a Timu Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Absolute joke. Reality is stranger than fiction. If this were a movie, the IMDb rating would be 10, right? Speaking from experience, jail makes you fat. I'm just saying. No fillers, no spa days, no cosmetics, no skincare routine. Yep, that's how you'd look. I don't agree with that because the last one we looked at, your eyes don't change shape. It's her. Stop with this distracting nonsense. I don't believe it. Calling bull. How is everybody in this comment section saying that it's the same person? Who's watched the video of that one? Knows it's her, or an insanely convincing body double that also has her exact body language. Unlikely at best. The square on the nose of the prison photo doesn't start at the brows, making it look like there's a difference that actually isn't there. Look at the ears. That's the best clue that both bitch are of kids Ghislaine Maxwell. I prefer my nickname, but anyway. She lost her hooded eyes and maybe her nose job collapsed. How do you lose your hooded eyes? Yeah, she looks like she's been punched in the nose, hopefully. And her face is just puffy. You won't get the defining chin lines if she's not smiling. How do you explain her voice and accent being identical, given the fact she has a very particular voice cadence? This is so stupid and rooted in misogyny, even if subconscious. Oh, so it's misogynistic now. This is just what older women looks like as she ages and no longer has access to high-end beauty treatments, and makeup is natural. My grandma's facial features changed a bit as she aged, especially her nose. I don't think it's misogyny. People looking for answers on this sub tend to come from backgrounds that will have them acclimated to the prison life, right? Phone call. Ghislaine Maxwell people telling me to shut up. That's what's going on right there. No, not really. On the other hand, I live in the hood and everybody is oblivious to the Epstein files. So it works both ways. It's insane. The jail one looks like a dude, all right? If she's not in jail, where is he? Where is she? Pick is not her. All right, this is the last Reddit one, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewind, and I'm going to tell you her whole life story, and you're going to understand in a little bit more detail why they would want to do this with her. Okay, it's insane. But then Ghislaine Maxwell, security chief, says he hired a lookalike of her to walk around Paris to confuse the media after Epstein's death. They're saying they wouldn't use a body double. Her security chief been using body doubles. It's been happening. They replaced Ghislaine Maxwell, right? And that apparently already was going on. They was doing it, all right? Ghislaine Maxwell, now played by Danny DeVito. Stop. That's hilarious. That is hilarious, all right? Maybe that's why reports of her weight vary from 5'4" to 5'10". Are we talking about weight? That's height, all right? This with that blind item talking about plastic surgery. What the F is going on? So this is the actual article that was being referred to there. And this basically says the security chief that worked for her hired a lookalike of her to walk around Paris to confuse the media after Epstein's death. That actually happened. Okay, that's a real thing. Matt Hellier told a forthcoming documentary, and this is in 2021, that he hired lookalikes of Maxwell and her brother after Epstein's death. They were hired so the real Ghislaine could escape the media. Contrary to earlier FBI filings, Hellier reportedly said she was not trying to evade the law. So she's sent a whole bunch of cap out there before. She's had body doubles. This ain't new. This ain't a new thing. Oh, I've got to come up with a body double strategy. You got a body double strategy on ice, ready to go at any time, right? In the interview obtained by the Mail on Sunday, Matt Hellier described taking the move during the intense media furor in the months after the disgraced financier deleted himself in jail. The documentary is titled Ghislaine, according to the paper. We went to an agency in France, not the first time, right? A security collaborating agency. They found us two people who resembled Ghislaine and her brother Kevin. All right. They strolled in Paris for a couple of days and we leaked it to a newspaper. In the picture published by the Mail on Sunday, a woman resembling Maxwell can be seen wearing a large shawl, accompanied by a man who looked like her brother Kevin. That's how we distracted attention away from where she really was. She was in the US at all times. This ain't nothing new. This ain't nothing new. Right? Hellier was hired shortly after Epstein's death. Paper reported that Hellier said in the interview that despite reports that she was on the run from authorities, she did not even try to leave the US. She was ultimately arrested on July 2020 on charges including arraigning and participating in the abuse of minors, which she denies. Almost a year earlier, Epstein died by deleting himself in his jail cell as he awaited trial on charges of running an A minor operation involving dozens of A minors. After Maxwell's arrest, prosecutors deemed her an extreme flight risk over her multiple passports and millions of dollars in the bank. Okay. About to sneeze. We're not going to let it happen. FBI agents said they had to breach the door to arrest Maxwell, and once inside, they found a cell phone wrapped in tinfoil as a seemingly misguided attempt to evade being tracked. What a dummy. What a dumbass. Maybe she's not faking, got a body double, because that's not very smart, all right? That's dumb as hell. Um, Apparently, the only thing she wanted to escape was the media, which explained planting lookalikes in Paris while she was in the US. Ghislaine was not running from the authorities; she was running from the media, and his task was to get her out of her home quickly. What a piece of dirt! Even helping her with that. That is a joke, right? So I told her we could fly her out the country immediately. She refused. Helia reportedly said, insisting the security team did not hide her from the authorities, just the media. Yeah, sure, buddy, sure. So look, let me rewind and take you all the way back to the start. And I want to tell you some of the backstory about what's going on with her, okay? What is actually the whole thing and the whole point of her, okay? Yeah, look, well, this is what we're hearing now, okay? We're seeing these two complete. This is a different person. If you ask, in my opinion, and I mean, people are saying could be a different focal length. I think the nose is completely off. If you're saying it's a nose job that's worn off, I don't know if that's a thing, okay? But that's what they're saying. The person they've carted out in front of the cameras is not her. But let's rewind all the way to the start, all right? This is a despicable piece of dirt because she was a big part of the operation. Arguably, Jeffrey Epstein wouldn't have been able to do what he did if he didn't have the support from Ghislaine Maxwell. Okay, this is Virginia Giuffre, rest in peace to her, one of the victims, one of the most famous, if not the most famous victim of this situation, saying she is a monster. She's worse than Epstein. She did things even worse than Epstein did. She was vicious. She was evil. Ghislaine was much more conniving and smart than Jeffrey ever was. Let's hear what she said, right?
She's worse than Epstein. She did things even worse than Epstein did. She was vicious. She was evil. And she's a woman.
Her lawyers have said Ghislaine Maxwell is not a Jeffrey Epstein, that she has been a victim of media spin.
They're doing their job, but I know that woman. I've known her really well. Put it this way. Epstein was Pinocchio, and she was Geppetto. She was the guy controlling
the strings.
Jeffrey. Yep, she was pulling the strings. She had his money. He had her contacts, but Ghislaine was much more conniving and smart than Epstein ever was. She is a monster.
It's damning, right? So she's saying Ghislaine was much more smart and conniving than Epstein ever was. She was pulling the strings. Now, I'm not trying to give her any bail or any support, but what I do think is interesting that apparently they actually met when Ghislaine was a minor herself. So this is a report that's circulating on Reddit. It says Ghislaine met Epstein in the mid-70s, all right? And she would have been about 14 years old when this happened. So it says, Jeffrey, I remember in the mid-70s you being a star salesman for our tax advantage strategies and hedged option program. I was running an account for Bob Maxwell. You always had the ability to know everyone and be charming. Was that when you first discovered the Maxwell teenage daughter? Happy birthday, Elliot Woke. Excuse me? So Epstein is 8 years older than her, right? So he would have been 22. She would have been 14. Gross. Gross. All right. And the comments are interesting too. It says, interesting to note too, that Epstein only began working at Bear Stearns in 1976. It's pretty strange that a new kid working in finance was already rubbing elbows with an Elliot Woke who was managing accounts for Bob Maxwell, a billionaire even at the time. I'd say I'm impressed if it wasn't Epstein. Also, very creepy that a teenage Ghislaine would later go on to date Epstein. I wonder if this letter will force investigative reporters to take a second look at the timeline that we've kind of accepted as the truth that they met in 1991. I'm actually going to save that comment for later because that's crazy, right? And saying Trump said he met Epstein in the 80s. Trump was a friend with Robert Maxwell in the 80s. This now means that they were probably all involved together at the same time. Oh God. I don't want to get put on the list, people. Okay, I don't want to get put on the list like that. It says, I suspected for years that Epstein knew Robert Maxwell well before the 90s, but couldn't prove it. We finally got the proof. This means it's now possible that Robert is the one that helped Epstein become a spy. They're trying to say that he was spying, okay? This also explained how Epstein got to work with Adnan Khashoggi in the 80s and become some sort of mercenary. Robert Maxwell was also close with the Khashoggi family. According to his former friend, the journalist Jesse Kornbluth, in the mid-1980s, Epstein said that he worked for governments to recover money looted by African dictators and occasionally subcontracted those to the same autocrats to help them hide their stolen money. A source who spoke with journalist Vicky Ward said one of Epstein's clients was the late Saudi arms dealer Khashoggi. It's crazy. It says, holy shoot. So Maxwell just admitted that she met the big man when she was a young'un. The yacht was named Ghislaine, the rabbit hole never ends. So look, I did actually see this, all right, in another Reddit thread. This is Donald Trump talking about being on Robert Maxwell's yacht, apparently, okay? So basically saying, one thing about the party abroad, British media mogul Robert Maxwell's yacht, everybody but everybody had to doff their shoes before boarding the plush carpeted Lady Ghislaine. Maxwell insisted and his guests cooperated, including Donald Trump minus Ivana Trump. Why would you even add that in there? Stop being silly. Who has a much bigger yacht and was happy to compare them with Maxwell. Guests sipped champagne, nibbled caviar flown in from Paris on the Concorde, and salmon served from the vessel's stores by shoeless waiters. There was John Tower, former senator and thumb-down defense secretary, ex-Navy Secretary John Lehman, now with Payne Webber lawyer Tom Bolan, literary agent Mort Janklow, UN envoy Thomas Pickering, Peter Calicow, owner of the New York Post, Maxwell's daughter Ghislaine. You're all on the boat. And Max's niece, Helen Atkin of Macmillan, the publishing house that Maxwell recently took over. Maxwell now weighs about 300 pounds. Went over the he went over the railings, but that was a bit later. At this point, he went over the guest list personally. No one could tell who didn't make the final invitation list, but we do know that Martha Smilligis of Time magazine was invited and then disinvited. She wrote the profile of Maxwell for the mag, which he apparently did not like. It's funny they had to specify his weight. This basically sounds like Trump called in the report, which he often did to get into gossip pages. That is quite funny. It says, I've always wondered if this is generational. It was said that Ghislaine was Robert's favorite child, and we know the boat was named after her. There are reports in the files that adults were selling their own kids to others among this group to do madness at parties. It doesn't seem that far-fetched that Ghislaine could have been abused from a young'un and just continued in the abuse business with Epstein once her dad died and was found to be totally broke. Where else was she going to get the kind of money it takes to upkeep that kind of lifestyle? And people agree. Says, I think people need to learn about Robert Maxwell. In an article in the Times of Israel explains very well what this remarkable man who forged an unprecedented empire. They're saying, what about his other children too? We forgot the death of ex-husband of Isabel Maxwell, Al Sackle. His children were very successful. Interesting. So look, the Israel thing, I could look into that another time, all right? I could dig into that another time, all right? But really, I want to focus on Ghislaine Maxwell in this video, all right? But look, she basically gets crazier and crazier. Ghislaine could actually be one of Epstein's first victims, all right? That's what they're saying. They're saying she could have been first. Now look, Robert Maxwell, he unfortunately got turned into cookies just like Jeffrey Epstein, okay? Stunting like my daddy, stunting like Ghislaine's daddy. He basically died under very suspicious circumstances. So I'm going to play you a TikTok that's going to give you a bit more context as to what was going on with Daddy Ghislaine Maxwell, and you're going to understand what was going on with that. Let's get this going. Oh God, oh God, oh God, they don't want me.
His
The
daughter
government don't want me
Ghislaine
to play
ends
this.
up working with Epstein.
If you
Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's father, his family died in Auschwitz, and he actually escaped the Holocaust. Years later, his daughter Ghislaine ends up working with Epstein after he passes away. Also, at his funeral, there were 6 Israeli intelligence agents. So this is the dark origin of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. So Robert Maxwell was born in 1923 in a Jewish village in what is present-day Ukraine. When the Nazis invaded, he fled. So he made it to France, he joined the British Army, and he fought in World War II. And then he completely reinvented himself. He became Robert Maxwell, British MP, a billionaire, a media mogul. Like, he made an empire. Behind the scenes, sources say that he worked with Mossad, allegedly laundering money, passing intel, and using his publishing empire, because he worked in media, for influence operations. In November of 1991, Maxwell vanished off of his yacht. His yacht was named the Lady Ghislaine after his daughter. His body was found in the Atlantic, and then his cause of death was ruled as an accidental drowning. But nobody believed that. He was then buried in Jerusalem with full Israeli state honors, and in attendance were 6 former and active Mossad agents. Why would Israeli spies honor a media mogul? And just months after her father's mysterious death, Ghislaine Maxwell appears in New York on the arm of Jeffrey Epstein. And the storyline is so close that it's possible that she knew Jeffrey as her father was dying, or right around that time period. That's exactly when her and Jeffrey met and became buddy-buddy. Was that a coincidence? I don't know. Was she handed to Epstein like an asset? I also don't know. What we do know is what ensued is that Ghislaine and Epstein built a trafficking and blackmail empire tied to global elites. And this is not a national issue. This is a global issue. So did her father's death clear the path? Was Epstein her lover or maybe her Israeli intelligence handler? And the number one thing that always comes to my mind about the Jeffrey Epstein case is how could one man, if you don't know much about Jeffrey Epstein, go look into his history, look at his education, look at where he's from. How could this one man with little to no influence over anyone, he's really a nobody, how could he garner so much power on his own? That is the unanswered question about Jeffrey Epstein.
It's very interesting, right? How on earth did Epstein get so much power? Well, one of the people that might have given him all of that power, all right, no one man should have all this power, but one of the people who might have done that was Robert Maxwell. Now, we don't know, clearly we know, okay, that Epstein had met Ghislaine Maxwell when she was a young'un, but it seemed like she probably inherited a lot of her father's influence and connections. And what's really scary about this is that he was truly plugged in with the global elite. So this is from r/Epstein 5 months ago. It says photos of Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, meeting people of influence. Okay, that's the Global Economic Panel in Amsterdam. All right, with from left W. Decker, Minister Van den Broek, Henry Kissinger, and Robert Maxwell in Amsterdam, North Holland, 1989. Right, and then they want to basically give some background of who was who, but basically you get the gist. Look at that. Father of Ghislaine Maxwell, who's implicated. There he is with Princess Diana. Right? Locked in with the royal family. Prince Andrew not far behind. Right? Norman Schwarzkopf Jr. was a United States Army general while serving as the commander of the United States Central Command. He led a coalition of forces in the Gulf War against the Baathists in Iraq. All right? This is Leonid Brezhnev, Soviet politician who served as the general secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union from 1964 until his death in 1982, as well as the fourth chairman of the I don't even know what that says. Predinitium of the Supreme Soviet, basically head of the state, or the presidency maybe, from 1960 to 1964 and again in 1977 to 82. Maxwell's locked in. There he is with Prince Philip. That's the Queen Elizabeth's husband, all right? Prince Andrew's father? Yep, Prince Andrew's daddy. This is Ghislaine Maxwell with Queen Elizabeth II, the Queen, all right? No substitute, the actual Queen. Ghislaine Maxwell with Princess Diana. She's plugged in. She's tapped in. So Ghislaine Maxwell was getting all them connections. This is with Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, not quite as impressive, but sure. Literally chilling with Mother Teresa, right? Cooking, making phone calls, big wigging on the phone. Imagine you're in the room with Mother Teresa and you're such a big dog. Sorry, Mother Teresa. Hold that thought, all right? I got to make a quick call. I got an important business call. Like, are you mad? Mother Teresa, I don't know who Anne Sinclair is, but I'm sure she's important. Edith Cresson, the former Prime Minister of France. Okay. Oh, and here we go. Here we go. Meeting between Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir and Robert Maxwell. Okay. Is what it is, man. Is what it is. This is with Pamela Harriman, a British-born American socialite and political figure. She had high-profile affairs with men like Eli de Rothschild, Gianni Agnelli, married Rudolph Churchill and later diplomat Averell Harriman, and a major Democratic fundraiser. She became a U.S. ambassador to France under President Clinton, okay? She's for the streets, all right? She unfortunately belongs to the streets, but hey, all right? If by streets, she running the most high-profile streets. That's all I'm going to say, okay? That's crazy. There's Nelson Mandela and Robert Maxwell, all right? Big dogs, right? Straight freedom fighters. He's with King Charles, all right? Now King Charles, he would have been Prince Charles back then. He's with a child, tiny little Prince William, all right? We're going to need to explain this one. Robert Maxwell with George W. Bush and Barbara Bush, 1989. King Charles again. Margaret, the Countess of Snowdon, all right? Robert Maxwell, father of Ghislaine. Oh, not the big dog. Not the big dog, okay? Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Let's skip these ones quick. I don't want to get in trouble. Heinrich Horndecker, right? I'll be real, I don't know who that is. But clearly, it's a big dog. Highly suggested that everyone acquaint themselves with Robert's bonkers life and terrible deeds via Behind the Bastards deep dive. Behind the Bastards is pretty crazy. I should rename my channel Behind the Bastards. That should be a tagline, right? It's obvious Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were involved in some sort of intelligence honey trap operation. That, of course, is a photo of George H.W. Bush, not his son, George W. Bush. The saying Ghislaine inherited the operation from her father, and Epstein was just the fall guy. How crazy is that? Now, I want to give you guys a little bit of context as to what Robert Maxwell was actually doing that made him so important that he couldn't turn down a phone call when he's literally with Mother Teresa, right? And people are basically saying, I was today years old when I found out Ghislaine Maxwell's father controlled childhood public education industry in the US. Why would they lie to us in school, the people who published the textbooks? That's Ghislaine Maxwell and father Robert Maxwell. He ran Macmillan Incorporated, the original American division of Macmillan Publishers, a big name in US book publishing, including school textbooks. Macmillan McGraw-Hill in the late 80s and early 90s. Macmillan partnered with McGraw-Hill, becoming a massive textbook publisher. A venture McGraw-Hill later fully acquired, and Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, was a major publishing magnate who built his empire starting with the Pergamon Press. He later acquired this major American publishing house, Macmillan Inc., later forming a joint venture with McGraw-Hill for educational publishing. I was privately educated, so all my books came from Becker Publishing instead. But a few years ago, I worked remotely processing supplier orders, so I noticed one of our clients ordered large volumes of McGraw-Hill miscellaneous books. That's when I first realized they were a major US supplier of public education textbooks. I don't know about you, but this is blowing my mind a little bit. What do you think? How far back does all of this go? And saying this is an email from Ghislaine to Jeffrey Epstein. Oh boy. Oh boy. So, one of her emails was called gmax@mindspring.com. So she wrote an email to Jeff. Sorry, I'm chewing some gum right now. The wedding was amazing. I can't wait to tell you all about it and show you the pictures. Also, was with a CIA operative who said that he worked with Dad. Was so shocked. He said that he could tell all, find all, and reveal all for a price. Tom knows him and will tell you all about it. Where are you? What are your plans? I'm leaving Tom and we'll be back in New York late afternoon Monday. Land in Chicago at 1:30 or thereabouts. GX. Ghislaine, right? Women getting caught up in serious child essay and trafficking is really unusual, but being a Nepo billionaire heiress and a Nepo intelligence asset is also incredibly unusual, but this explains a lot. It's unusual, but it happened. It sounds like it happened. They're saying he was a Mossad agent, so maybe this is related to the massive indoctrination regarding Israel in the US. Okay. It says she was a moderator on or about half a dozen of the biggest subs on Reddit, and she will be again as soon as she's sprung. What makes you think she isn't right now? All right. He was an Israeli spy who stole American nuclear secrets too. Now, immediately following her father's suspicious death when he took a tumble off of his boat, the lady Ghislaine, ironically, right? They never worked out what happened. They never worked out how or who or why. He just took a tumble off the boat. Whoops. Immediately following his death, Ghislaine moved to New York and used the high-level connections that she had from her father to basically introduce Jeffrey Epstein into the very same circles. So check this out. I'll explain.
New photos presented as evidence during the trial captured the intimacy between Maxwell and Epstein. The pair had a relationship in the 1990s and remained close afterward, with some describing her as Epstein's second-in-command and lady of the house. The undated photos show the warm, easy rapport between the two. In one series of particularly suggestive pictures, Maxwell can be seen giving Epstein a foot massage on a private plane. The photos also reveal their lavish lifestyle, filled with private jets, yachts, and visits to exotic locales. The pair can even be seen relaxing at the Queen's private Scottish residence at Balmoral Castle.
Oh no.
A well-connected socialite, Maxwell is said to have introduced Epstein to many of her wealthy and powerful friends. The couple was photographed widely at social events, including with some very notable faces, from President Bill Clinton to future President Donald Trump and the future First Lady.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. It's pretty crazy. So she was basically described as the primary architect of the Epstein operation, right? And it's crazy, really, when you think about it. Epstein never really got to face justice. She ended up facing justice, and it really wasn't even as bad as it should have been, all right? And she was basically arrested a year after Epstein, all right, in 2020. And notably, prosecutors focused exclusively on her role of trafficking people to Epstein, meaning that the clients remained unnamed. How convenient, how great for all the clients that don't exist, allegedly.
Well, Tony, one woman I spoke with says the word that keeps coming up to describe this arrest is finally. You know, for years, Ghislaine Maxwell has denied allegations that she helped Jeffrey Epstein run his alleged sex trafficking operation from right here, his Manhattan mansion, among other places. And despite detailed allegations against Maxwell, she's never been charged. Until now. The FBI took Ghislaine Maxwell into custody Thursday morning at this home in New Hampshire. The indictment alleges Maxwell helped Jeffrey Epstein recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse underage girls. The youngest alleged victim was 14. Many of Epstein's accusers describe her as Epstein's chief lieutenant. Maria Farmer and Sarah Ransom spoke to CBS News in the last year.
Ghislaine was Jeffrey's right hand. Ghislaine made it very clear that if we didn't do what he wanted, that we'd be punished.
I saw Ghislaine going to get the women. She went to places like Central Park. She would say, "Stop the car," and she would dash out and get a child.
The indictment.
Can you believe that? They was really spinning the block. She would see kids on the street and say, "Stop the car. I got to scoop that." Disgusting. It's hard to even for me to want to say worse than Epstein because I feel like that's a pretty tall order. But that account is despicable. She was riding around New York talking about stop the car when she sees a minor on the street. She needs a DP, and not the good kind. Are you
claims
dumb?
Maxwell and Epstein would spend time building friendships with minor victims, taking them to the movies or shopping. Maxwell's presence, the documents claim, helped put the victims at ease during sexual interactions with Epstein because an adult woman was present.
Right, so it's disgusting. So she was basically making these girls feel comfortable, like they had a woman in their corner that was looking out for them, and then she would stitch them up and sell them down the river and put them literally into one of the most dark and despicable situations a human could possibly be placed in. Now, she was ultimately found guilty on multiple counts of trafficking and sentenced to 20 years, which frankly, based on what we've just heard, is not enough.
Maxwell sat in her chair with little emotion, only pouring herself a glass of water as the judge read the verdict, guilty on all but one count. After some 40 hours of deliberations, the jury convicted Maxwell on 5 charges, including sex trafficking a minor for Jeffrey Epstein and 3 counts of conspiracy related to his sex abuse ring. Maxwell was found not guilty on a count of enticement. During the month-long trial, 4 accusers described in graphic detail Maxwell's role in sex trafficking girls for Jeffrey Epstein. One victim, Carolyn, said that at 14 years old, she was paid hundreds.
Okay, so look, we've heard a lot of this stuff before, right? I don't want to give everyone nightmares again, okay? But basically, all right, disclosures that now came out in 2026, okay, would basically reveal that apparently the FBI had 10 potential co-conspirators in this case, but ultimately they decided against bringing charges. Let's not bother. Nah, CBA, nah, can't be bothered. Federal authorities mapped out Epstein's inner circle. Pause. Only one person depicted or referred to in the chart as a potential co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, was ever charged with helping Mr. Epstein engage in trafficking. Look at this. Look at this. He's the one in the middle. We've got people talking about she was worse than him. She was stopping the whip, talking about, yo, stop the car. I need to go and scoop up a minor. Leslie Groff, bro, this guy probably would have been cooked. He ended up going out the same way that Epstein ended up turning in front. But you really mean to show me that they had all this on the board and this is the only person that went down for everything? Give me a break. Give me a break, right? Federal authorities created a diagram of Epstein's inner circle, at least several of whom authorities consider to be potential co-conspirators. The document featured photos and names of a number of well-known people in Epstein's orbit, including his convicted accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, his lawyer, Darren Indyke, his accountant, Richard Kahn, his financial advisor, Harry Bella, his longtime assistant, Leslie Groff, and Jean-Luc Brunel, who died by self-deletion in a French jail after being charged with the R-word. The names and faces of several other people described as Mr. Epstein's employees or girlfriends were redacted in the document. Oh, good for them. That's nice. That's nice. Give them a little redaction. Of all the people depicted or referred to in the chart, only Miss Maxwell was ever charged with helping Epstein engage in the operation. But the photo montage shows at least around the time of Epstein's arrest and death in 2019, the feds were looking into a wider array of potential co-conspirators. 3 people whose photos weren't redacted, Mr. Indyke, Mr. Khan, and Mr. Bella, were some of Epstein's closest employees. Mr. Indyke and Mr. Khan serve as co-executors of Mr. Epstein's estate. Oh, good. Oh, great. They landed on their feet. They and Mr. Bella, whose name is misspelled in the document, can't even get the flipping names right, were involved in the inner workings of Mr. Epstein's finances. The House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, which has been investigating the government's handling of the investigations of Mr. Epstein, has announced plans to depose Mr. Indyke and Mr. Khan. You think that happened? Their lawyers were not immediately available for comment, And they had no comment. Okay. Document listed other employees and associates, including pilots, Leslie Wexner, the billionaire real estate magnate who was Epstein's most important financial benefactor. But there's no indication in the document the feds considered these men to be among Epstein's co-conspirators. Nothing to see here, folks. Now, interestingly enough, all right, and again, I don't want to get in too much trouble by airing out these crazy inconsistencies. I've dropped my phone. Sounded like a crack. Now, the Attorney General Pam Bondi back in July 2025, she initially claimed that there was a formal client list that existed before swiftly walking back these comments conveniently, right? That was crazy. This is insane. Look at this.
In February, you made a public claim that the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now for review, end of quote. You then produced already public information and no client list at a major media event hosted at the White House. Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then
It's a tough question, right? I can't wait to see the answer.
produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files, and I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, excuse me, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo.
So I had it on my desk, but I said clearly I didn't look at it. And then when I looked at it, it was gone. So what part of that don't you understand? What, are you slow? Are you slow? Are you slow? Oh, comments are turned off. Good. Yeah, comments turned off. Just turn those comments off. That's great. Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. Now, bring us up to today, right? You might have seen the news, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell, she was dragged in front of the House committee, all right? She said she was going to let everyone know what was going on. She was going to spill the beans. And what beans ended up getting spilled? Absolutely none. About 5 beans, or the 5th bean, you might want to say, because she pled the 5th non-stop, okay? Apart from one, she gave one little bit of interesting evidence, right? And clearly, right, she was on one. So let's just see, all right? Let's just see what she was saying in this absolute horror show.
You never observed, or you never saw any sort of list or black book or a list of...
Just for the record, all right, I might have got my timings messed up on this. This wasn't the most recent one. This is the one back in August, all right? She basically refused to testify in front of the House committee, all right? And basically did an interview with the Deputy Attorney General that was appointed by Trump. And in this interview, she said there is no client list linked to Jeffrey Epstein. So this was back in 2020. This says August 22. I don't know if that's August the 22nd of 2025 or August of 2022. But basically, okay, there's been a few different, I mixed up my words here. I was thinking that this was the one that happened the other day, but I can see that that's not the case. But basically, she originally said there's no black book, no blacklist, no nothing like that. No absolute cap, didn't happen.
Of individuals who, linked to certain masseuses or
Absolutely
anything
no.
like that?
Absolutely no.
Oh.
There is no
No.
list. There
No
is
list.
no. I'm not aware of any blackmail. I never heard that. I never saw it, and I never imagined it.
Didn't even imagine it. Right? Of course, she knows nothing. How stupid do they think we are? Now, interestingly enough, right, in that same interview, right, she would actually do the smart thing, right? She would make a very smart move. And she would basically make statements explicitly clearing Donald Trump of any wrongdoing. So no clients, no one ever existed, not even a thought or an imagination of having clients. And while you're there, definitely no Donald Trump involvement.
Well, I just want to say for my relationship with President Trump, relationship's a big word, but I just want to say that I met him.
Whoops.
Well,
She does. Just from my I
believe I may have because of my father in the 90s.
Yep. Okay.
So my father liked him very much, and he really liked his wife as well because they were both Czechoslovakian. And as far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me. And I just want to say that I admire his extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him. So that is the sum and substance of my entire relationship with him.
So apparently, right, following this cooperation in August of 2025, she was apparently rewarded, right, coincidentally, with basically being downgraded to a minimum security prison facility with major perks. And I'm not talking about Percocets, all right? I'm talking about hair and nail appointments by the looks of
That's
her.
according to a whistleblower
Botox.
who also gave House Democrats details about how Maxwell's move from federal prison to a prison camp has come with some extraordinary perks.
What we've just learned is that she has been receiving basically club fed or Trump hotel style treatment, concierge style treatment. She's had meals delivered to her cell, basically room service in prison. She gets to use the exercise facilities whenever she wants. She's got special arrangements where she's working with the warden to send materials to her defense team. It's an extraordinary situation.
Add to that one more perk for the convicted sex offender, puppy time. According to the whistleblower, an inmate who trains puppies to become service dogs was instructed to provide one to Maxwell for a time so she could play with the puppy, even though neither inmates nor staff are ordinarily allowed to pet the service dogs in training. Joining me.
She gets puppy time. Are you having a laugh? Is this a funny joke? This must be a funny joke. So all the way jumping forward now to January of 2026, all right? She then claimed that there were accomplices that made secret plea agreements. So then 1 minute she's saying there's no black book, there's no co-defenders, no cooperators. Next thing, you know, she claims 25 Epstein accomplices made secret settlements. In court papers filed in December, Maxwell wrote that new evidence revealed there were 25 men with whom the prosecutor's lawyers reached secret settlements so they could equally be considered as co-conspirators. All right, oopsie. Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted associate of ex-offender Jeffrey Epstein, has revealed in court papers 25 alleged accomplices of the disgraced financier reached secret settlements to avoid prosecution. The filing, as per Courthouse News Service, revealed that there were 4 named co-conspirators, all former Epstein employees who were mentioned in a non-prosecution agreement and in the trafficking indictment that Epstein was facing before his death, but they were never charged. The habeas corpus petition was submitted in December last year by Maxwell's attorney. In court papers filed in December, Maxwell wrote that new evidence revealed there were 25 men with whom the prosecutor's lawyers had reached secret settlements that could equally be considered as co-conspirators. As per filings, the persons were not named, and Maxwell appeared to be unaware. Oh, she's unaware. Doesn't know nothing. Doesn't know nothing. Oh, great. Yeah, sure. I'm getting pissed. I'm so sick of these Epstein files. I'm getting pissed. I'm gonna go postal, man. All right. Maxwell added that none of these men have been prosecuted and none have been revealed to Maxwell. Cap. She would have called them as witnesses had she known. As per the petition, these confidential settlements are critical evidence of prosecutorial misconduct that supports Maxwell's argument for overturning her conviction. Good luck, but she might pull it off. If the jury had heard of the new evidence of the collusion between the prosecutor's lawyers and the government to conceal evidence and the prosecutorial misconduct, they would not have convicted, the petition shared. What? So I'm bringing it full circle now. This is the last thing that I'm going to show you, okay? I got this wrong a minute ago. I was referring to the wrong incident. But obviously that brings us to now, February the 10th, 2026, when Ghislaine Maxwell appeared in front of the House committee, and she answered nothing. She pled the fifth. I plead the fifth. She pled nothing but the fifth, right? She invoked a whole bunch of fifths, all right? She must have linked up with Crip Mac in the feds and gone to 55th Street because she pled nothing but the fifth, okay? It is disgraceful, all right? Nothing but the Fifth Amendment. And apparently, the counsel signaled that she would be willing to testify if granted clemency by President Trump. Oh, the old bait and switch. I'll tell you everything. Pulls up, pleads nothing but the fifth. And then if Trump gives me clemency, I'll just do whatever you say. So look, I might just let this run for the whole 3 minutes just to show you how much of a despicable beast of a hag this woman is. We're not even sure if this is her, all right? But let's just run it, all right? And let's just, you know, she needed to get back to her puppy time, all right? So she had to just plead the fifth, 53rd Street. It's a joke.
Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question.
It's cap.
And any related
it's
questions.
True. We know it's true.
My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Oh, yeah.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
We know it's true, though. We
Ms.
already
Maxwell,
know it's
did you
true.
at any time play any role in Jeffrey Epstein's activities involving the recruitment, grooming, or trafficking of young women or girls?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
This makes me so
Let the record
angry.
reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, have you ever coerced, directed, or otherwise instructed any young woman or girl to provide sexual favors to Mr. Epstein or any other individual?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record
Disgusting.
reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Oh, my God.
Ms. Maxwell, did you and Jeffrey Epstein attempt to surround yourselves with influential individuals to curry favor and shield yourselves from potential scrutiny?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the
Why
Fifth
even do
Amendment against
this?
self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Ms. Maxwell, can you please provide us with all the names of other additional co-conspirators to the crimes perpetuated by you and Jeffrey Epstein?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
What a joke.
Ms. Maxwell, is it your intention to answer every question put to you by the committee today with the assertion of your Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
The answer to that
You
is
could
yes,
answer
also.
that.
Just as her lawyer, I'll tell you yes, that's her intention.
Yes, that's the intention. Yes, that's the plan. So this is a little bit more backstory where the lawyer basically it broke down that she was looking for clemency. She's pleading the Fifth unless she can't have any consequences of the sordid shit that she was involved in. She's not going to talk on it.
Members of the committee, on my advice, Ghislaine Maxwell will respectfully invoke her Fifth Amendment right to silence and decline to answer questions today, even though she would very much like to answer your questions. She must remain silent because Ms. Maxwell has a habeas petition currently pending that demonstrates her conviction rests on a fundamentally unfair trial. For example, jurors lied during voir dire to secure seats on the jury, and the government promised immunity and then broke that promise. Newly discovered documents now demonstrate these facts conclusively. If this committee and the American public truly want to hear the unfiltered truth about what happened, there is a straightforward path. Ms. Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. Only she can provide a complete account, and some may not like what they hear, but the truth matters. For example, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why, and the public is entitled to hear that explanation. Thank you, members of the committee, for having us today. Ms. Maxwell can now proceed to answer her questions with the Fifth Amendment. Thank you.
She's a demon. She's a demon. All right, lock her up. Throw away the key. No more puppy time. It's a joke. All right, I'm actually angry. I'm actually pissed off. I'm gonna have to go. Like, I need to just go and like lift some weights or something. Because I'm fuming. What for? I can't stand this woman. Okay, so they're saying it might not even be her. Doesn't look like her. She's got every reason to be worse than Jeffrey Epstein. It's fucked. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm actually pissed off. I'm going to have to take a little break before I make more videos. If you enjoyed this video and you've been enjoying my breakdowns, I did do a breakdown yesterday of some of the most diabolical clips that I've found in my research during the Epstein files. And that's the members only video. YouTube will not fill in that one. Okay, so if you want to see that one, go to the members section. I've got that video up there. It's crazy. All right, well, enough said about that. Let me know if you enjoyed this breakdown of Ghislaine Maxwell. Absolute dirtbag. Just, oh my God, I can't even. She needs to get in. She just needs to get in the backwards ASAP. But anyway, I will catch you guys in the next video. I've got 5 different topics on Epstein that I want to do. I did 2 yesterday. Unfortunately, I couldn't put one of them out, but it's now in the members section. And I'm just going to try and run it up tonight and just give you a whole bunch of clips and breakdowns of things that you guys are going to find interesting. This was really the most important one, and I wanted to do a full, long, deep dive. I can't believe we've gone nearly an hour, but there was a lot to say. And I'm actually, I'll keep it real. My cortisol levels are through the roof now, so I'm going to have to wrap it up. But thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and I'm out of here, folks. Peace.